Ah, Christmas trees. Everybody that celebrates the holiday would normally get a Christmas tree and stick it up in their house, and that can either be a real tree or one of those fake plastic ones. I decided to take a little bit of a different path. As you can see, I have a tree over there which is just my little palm tree, but I decided to dress it up a little bit, get in that Christmas spirit. Hello! Welcome to Brain Spill, the laziest show on the internet. My name is Tank. Honestly, I thought long and hard about this and I came up with a whole plethora of ideas. However, this one in particular, I thought it was just a very nice topic and it's something quite special. So, here we are. Today we're going to be talking about why Norway sends Christmas trees to Britain on an annual basis. Your first thought might be just the fact that Britain doesn't have any trees on it, but that is not true. That couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, look at all these trees. That's a lot of trees right there. The true reason behind this tradition goes back to World War II. And yes, this is going to be a very Christmassy topic today. Germany was marching through Europe, and like many Scandinavian countries, Norway wanted to remain neutral. However, they knew that they didn't want a war with Britain. Although they had managed to obtain favourable trade treaties with both the UK and Germany prior to the Second World War, they have a large coastline to the North Sea and the Atlantic, a strategic vantage point. The Allied forces thought it would be a grand idea to go through Norway to try and stop the iron ore imports coming in from Sweden, trying to stop the very vital resources getting to Germany, and the Allied forces could cut it off. And if that worked, they could, I don't know, maybe open up a second front in Europe? Maybe. This very much reminds me of playing Risk, except it's real life. On the 28th of April 1939, Nazi Germany offered Norway and several other Scandinavian countries non-aggression pacts. However, to maintain neutrality, it was turned down along with Sweden and Finland. The game was set for an invasion from both sides, and Norway tried to prepare for the inevitable. Really, it was like being stuck between a rock and a hard place. You couldn't really say one or the other because you would basically be bearing down one side of this fight. On the pretext of a British and French invasion of Norway, Germany decided to send troops in and began their invasion. They decided to implement their tried and tested blitzkrieg of basically decimating everything that goes in their path to punch a hole straight into Norway. The Allies landed in an attempt to repel the Germans, but to no avail. The Allies, come June, had to make a hurried retreat and Norway fell to German occupation. The primary reason behind this was not only due to the staggering progress the Germans had made, but due to other conflicts going elsewhere. It just wasn't possible for France and Britain to keep their troops stationed there. They had to withdraw and reconvene for other objectives. And since 1939, about 300,000 Germans were stationed in Norway throughout the remainder of the war. This for Adolf Hitler was an absolute success. Not only had he managed to maintain control of the Scandinavian countries and push out the Allied forces, but he had unfettered access to the sea, was able to control some air bases in which to bomb Britain later in the war, but most importantly of all, he managed to maintain that very vital route of supplies of iron ore coming from Sweden. Germany was kicking and punching their way to victory. Norway's story throughout the majority of the rest of the war was basically under German occupation, and you might think that the story ends there, but oh no, it doesn't end there. That's the whole reason that we're making this video today. There's something else that happened which we need to talk about. There is absolutely no way that those Norwegians were going to roll over that easily. The story now takes us to King Haakon VII, a name that I totally didn't have to Google before this video, so I knew that I was pronouncing it correctly. And to be perfectly honest with you, I still probably didn't pronounce it correctly. He was Norway's first king after the restoration of the country's full independence in 1905 and escaped the country to Britain. And honestly, I don't blame him. When you've got an enemy force that's invading and they're absolutely decimating, you're going to want to get out of there. And he managed to make his escape to Britain as pretty much the last safe haven in Western Europe. He managed to escape to Britain and he stayed there for the remainder of the war. He set up a new government headquarters in London and effectively ran the country from Britain. This to the Norwegian people was incredibly important because having the government set up elsewhere, they were able to send out radio broadcasts to the country in Norwegian and was an important factor in keeping the morale up of the country and fighting them through the war. More importantly, however, the radio transmissions were of vital importance to the resistance movement that was ongoing in Norway. It acted as a direct line of communication to the resistance fighters. Following the end of the Second World War, and spoiler alert, Germany didn't win, Norway was liberated, and as a result, King Haakon VII managed to return home and, after a liberated country, gave thanks to Britain for their service and aid during these dire times. And in 1947, as a thank you to the people of London, King Haakon gifted a Christmas tree to the city. Ever since that date, it's stuck. The tradition has carried on to this very day. This, in my opinion, is a really nice way to commemorate such a pivotal moment in history, and it really goes to show that there is a strong bond between these two neighbouring countries, and even through dire times they can help each other out wherever they can. Norway doesn't just gift a single tree, however. Various cities across Norway gift trees annually to various different parts of the country in Britain, and these cities normally are matched up, so one city sends a tree to another city as a thank you, and the tradition has just stuck. The main one, of course, being the annually gifted tree from the city of Oslo to the people of London. This tree, normally being a grand, magnificent one, is taken to Trafalgar Square and presented for everybody to see. And as far as trees go, the Norwegians have got them pretty good. Like, their trees trump ours completely. I mean, look at the size of some of these trees. They are absolutely towering above anything else, and really, if you're going to gift a tree, something like this is probably going to do the job. However, I wouldn't really want one of those in my house, mainly because I couldn't fit it in there, but also think about how many pine needles you'd need to clean up in New Year. It'd just be too much work. About a half-an-hour drive outside of the Norwegian capital is where these trees are found, with the trees being selected many years before it is due to be gifted, known commonly as the Queen of the Forest, due to it being usually an enormous tree. These trees are selected about 15 years before they're gifted, meaning that once they're identified, they can be protected and cultivated and grown to be as big and as magnificent as they can before they're cut down. These trees are cared for over so many years after being selected very carefully. They're treated, they're kept well kept, ensuring that the trees and the foliage around them is proper and ready. Normally, once they've identified a tree, they might even cut around a lot of the trees around it just to give it as much natural light as possible and to ensure it grows to its full potential, which I really wish is something I did over the past 15 years because I've just been a social lock-in and now I'm as white as Casper the Ghost. The tree is maintained and cared for all the way until it's fully grown and has nice green pines all around it, ready for it to be cut down. And of course, the cutting down is a whole event in itself. They don't just get anybody to come cut it down, they turn it into a celebration. People gather and an open fire is started with coffee and carols chiming out. What's more Christmassy than that? That just gives me a nice warm fuzzy feeling inside, and that might have been the whiskey I drank earlier, but in any event, it's giving me those good feeling vibes. Once the tree's ready to be cut, they cut it down with a chainsaw and a massive crane lifts it up and hoists it onto a big carrying truck. I mean, how else did you expect them to get a huge tree out? It's bloody massive. And yes, of course, once the tree's cut down, they count the rings, as they all say, to find out how old it normally is. And well, once the tree's prepared, it travels across the sea to England, where the tree is put up in a lighting ceremony that takes place. We just need to make sure that the tree doesn't come into any stormy weather and comes nice and ready to be presented to the people of London. Something I think which is really nice with this is that the tree, once it's put up in Trafalgar Square, is obviously decorated as a Christmas tree. It doesn't just have tacky lights like that one over there. It has traditional Norwegian decorations and white glowing lights, making it look very classy. At the base of the tree, a plaque reads the following: "This tree is given by the city of Oslo as a token of Norwegian gratitude to the people of London for their assistance during the years of 1940 to 45. Just for context, the tree is normally about 50 to 60 years old and stands over at least 20 meters tall, so you always know that the tree that arrives is going to be a big one. Like I said previously, it is the city of Oslo that gifts this tree to the people of London in Trafalgar Square every year, but the tradition has grown over the years with a number of other Norwegian cities donating trees to sister cities throughout the UK, including Edinburgh, Grimsby, Aberdeen, Sunderland, Newcastle and the Orkney Islands. Not only are these connected with the wartime gratitude, but a lot of these countries are also on the coast where historically Vikings came over and set up settlements in Britain, so there is also a cultural and historical tie there as well. As you might imagine, the ceremony and the gifting of the tree is a popular tradition on both sides of the pond, with the Lord Mayor of Westminster saying that it is one of the highlights for every Lord Mayor to take part in this great festive event, celebrating the enduring friendship between our nations. This is all well and good, and with the whole enduring friendship thing, that's pretty cool. However, last year there was a bit of a controversy over the tree that was received. The attention drawn to the tree last year wasn't due to the great amazing size of the tree, no. It was more so to do with the fact that it looked quite frail in comparison to previous trees that had been received. And I know it sounds bad because this is a gift, but I mean, look at the tree. It just doesn't look right. Many commenting on the appearance of the tree saying that it was balding or that it was dead on arrival, which, I mean, if you compare and contrast this tree from the one last few years prior, maybe they should have picked another tree. The government hit back at these accusations, basically saying that it's of course not going to look like the tree in your own front room because it's 80 foot high, it's massive. Despite the remarks about the tree's appearance, this isn't really the thing we should be focusing on, however, as with any gift, the tree itself is probably secondary. It's more so the act of the gift itself. The fact that they're willingly giving these to us as a token of appreciation is just really cool, and it's something that we shouldn't take lightly. And at the end of the day, it's Christmas after all. You just have to be thankful for what you get, even if your tree looks like it's going through a middle-age crisis. When the tree was first gifted, this was following a terrible time in history, and the illuminated tree ceremony was a sign of things to come, an enduring beacon of hope, appreciation, and gratitude. Just thinking about the tree this way kind of gives you a new perspective on things and makes you wonder whether, as far as Christmas trees is concerned, if this is one of the more important ones that's ever been put up. If you liked the video, be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to be notified as soon as I upload my next video, be sure to hit the bell button. And if you've got any ideas for what topics you'd like me to discuss next, let me know down in the comments below. As always, sources used in the video will be in the description. Right, I'm going to go take that tree to Trafalgar Square and just hold it up and see if people are as impressed with that as they are with the real deal. I'll see you guys in the next video. Fantastic.